Welcome to the About podcast. Here we explore your financial health in simple and easy to understand ways.
All right, well, welcome everybody to the About podcast, where we talk all things financial health and more. I think we can add "and more" now in the diversity of topics that we have talked about. As always, I'm Jeremy Scott, one of your hosts here, joined ably by Roy Hookey. Roy, how you doing?
I'm well. I'm excited, as always.
Yeah.
Because we have a guest.
We have a guest. It's like we don't want to do it on our own anymore.
Talking to you is
we talk to
fun. We do it all the time. So
talk to each other.
Let's talk to someone more interesting.
Yes. They've heard from us enough. All right. Roy is correct. We are ably joined as well by Avery George of Netirio, a cybersecurity company, to talk to us about all things cybersecurity, which is that one of those lovely things. The thing we love to talk about on this show is things that people should care about but don't want to. So I think this falls right into one of those categories of we just want our technology to work. We don't want it to think about it, but we really need to because it really matters a lot. So Avery, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah,
we're
great
excited,
to be here.
man. We're excited to have you.
Yeah. Why don't you give us a quick rundown of Netirio? What do you guys do?
Sure. Well, how about even take us back further than that?
Okay.
I want to know how you got to Colorado.
Yes.
And then I want to know because he has.
You want to know his astrological sign?
I do a little bit.
Hey, I can provide that.
And then I want to know, why are you an expert in this area?
Sure.
To our listener, right? That's really what I want to. Let's create that arc for our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my 30-second elevator pitch that might go a little bit longer than that. But so essentially, I am originally from Indiana. I graduated with a degree in basically it's IT consulting, but they call it informatics. And so it's a newer, I would say like it's a newer degree in the last maybe like 15 years.
Okay.
And so I graduated with that degree and then moved out here, followed a girlfriend out here actually, and
we were all want to do
which
that.
Which is fine because honestly, like I have always been kind of I knew I wasn't going to stay in Indiana, so I came out here and I started a job in sales doing printers and copiers, and I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, so I knew that was going to be a stepping stone where I kind of learned a little bit about the professional sales piece, and then from there, I transitioned to a technical engineer for a startup. So talk about two very different lifestyles, and got laid off. So on April 1st, actually, of 2018.
Was your response, are you kidding?
Yeah, absolutely. He takes me in. My boss is like, hey, got to chat with you or whatever. Takes me into this little table basically about this size. And he's like, so we're going to have to let you go. And I was like, ha, that's really funny. And he's like, no, I'm so serious.
Oh, that's hard.
So then I get out of there and call my girlfriend and I'm like, hey, I got fired. She's like, that's really funny. Haha. And that story goes on and on. Right. So then after that, I worked for Boulder Valley School District as a tech support person. So I went from an engineer to a tech, which is got its quirks.
A little bit of humility there.
There's a little humility
absolutely.
there. And Boulder Valley is a school district. It's a good district.
Yeah. And I'm never one to feel like I'm too good to be somewhere. So that didn't affect me too much, but other people saw in the light of other people, they're like, man, that's kind of stinks. But, and then, so I was working from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And after that, I would just be bored because I would go home. My girlfriend wasn't home yet. What else? There's not tons to do. So that's when I had the great idea to start doing in-home IT work for people. So I got on this app. It's basically like Nextdoor for chores and stuff. And one of those things was IT support. So I'd work from 7 to 3 at my day job, and then from 4 to 10 at night, I would work as,
like a TaskRabbit or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I would work as a tech, and so I started working with people, and they were owners of businesses, and they're like, "Hey, I have this IT guy, but I don't really want to use him. Like you seem to fix my issues and you're funny or whatever, like they'd be like, you have like kind of a personality behind the actual stuff that you're completing. So I got a couple of people to somehow sign contracts with me to be their like IT service provider at their companies, and got it to a point where I had enough in contracts to get my salary covered for the most part.
Nice.
And so that was kind of like, that was the start of the journey.
There's the jump
right?
off point where you're like, oh,
yeah.
let's do
There's
this.
something here. I love it when we have entrepreneurs on this podcast.
Yeah, it was fun. And then, just to like wrap it up, the first week that I decided that I was going to go solo and not have a salaried full-time position was the first week that COVID lockdowns happened. So I was the guy sitting in my office on like March 12th or whatever it was of 2020 and being like, I really made a big mistake. This is bad. This is really bad.
But I bet there's a lot of people who needed some tech support because suddenly we're trying to do stuff on their own they weren't used to having to do on their own.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that was the cool part. So I got to like accelerate my trajectory kind of because of that.
Everybody's like, tell me about this Zoom thing. What is this? That's
right.
Now going to be an indispensable part of my life.
We're supposed to work from home. We don't know how this is going to happen, but got you.
Well, I went to seminary in Columbus, Ohio, so I totally understand getting out of the Midwest.
Yes.
So good choice to come into the mountains.
Thank you.
There you go. Guys, nice.
It's been awesome. Nice. I love it.
So what kind of services are you offering? Like what does a standard service look like for you now? Like what's a client?
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of still offer bespoke solutions. So if you're a 5-person company, there is an offering that we have for you. And if you're a 50-person company, we can also provide support for you as well. And the main thing that we do is we provide a baseline level of security in the form of software. And then like onboarding and offboarding of employees is a big one. I didn't think that was going to be as big as it is, but a lot of people, when we're having sales conversations, they're like, we have 30 people and our churn is like 10 people a year or something. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, this is a really big deal for us. We have to have somebody that we can trust to like ship a computer or like put things on the computer to like make them ready.
Well, and I guess user accounts and everything, because everything's a subscription right now, Office 365 and Google Apps and everything like that. So you're creating users and deleting users and doing that. We have a church management system here at the church, and I found myself wandering into the user area the other day, and I'm like, oh, like half these people on here don't go to church here anymore. Like there's people with like administrator access that should not have it, and I'm like, I don't know the last time we cleaned this up. So I did, but you don't think about it. But yeah, if you got, that's a lot of setup and takedown.
Yeah, and we charge like per user, so people are like looking at that pretty closely.
Well, it's also a pain in the butt. So if I can pay somebody to do it, and then I can do whatever if I'm a business, I want to do whatever I do.
All right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, full disclosure, Credentialed Wealth Advisors does use Netirio.
Oh, okay.
As our expert in that space to make sure things are secure.
Okay.
For like the last 4 years or something. So
yeah, we were an early adopter of Netirio before they were called Netirio.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I was an early adopter of Credentialed Wealth Advisors.
That's
so
right. You were very early.
Very early.
Very early. We support entrepreneurs around.
Yes,
we do. And that's really a passion of mine too. Is just entrepreneurs. So I love hearing the story, just because hard work pays off.
Yeah.
Like you took a huge leap.
Right.
And it actually helped you because you had more capacity.
Yeah.
Than you would have otherwise, right? So you were able to really accelerate that growth of your company and grow that business in a way that you wouldn't have had otherwise, right?
Oh man, it's crazy story, but
well, I love the idea of even just recognize an opportunity, but between 3 and 6 p.m.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do with myself? I mean, you can sit around and play video games, or hey, sometimes that's fun,
right?
But or you can put it to work.
So. Word that you mentioned that I'm sure some of our listeners don't know, TaskRabbit. What does that mean?
TaskRabbit, well, it's a website where you can, if you've got services to offer, cleaning. I think it started off doing mostly like cleaning and housewares and things like that. You can do that. So I've actually known a number of people who've started cleaning businesses or handyman businesses. I think it started off. I think they're owned by IKEA now because you can. I actually heard a podcast from the founder of TaskRabbit, and I believe
put
IKEA
together
bought
your
him.
furniture?
Yep, because that was one of their
crazy.
That was one of their number one tasks. Is people would go on TaskRabbit and hire people to come assemble their IKEA furniture, and I do believe IKEA owns them now. But it's not just about that. It's
You
all
didn't
kinds
know
of stuff
you'd
like
learn that on this podcast, our listeners, right?
I know.
I had no idea. I
That's
just
actually
learned
brilliant,
something
though, because that's the worst part of
right.
Yeah,
Stuff
well,
like
apparently you can slip some 19-year-old $50 or whatever it is, and they'll come put your, Dvorak keyboard together or whatever it's called.
Yeah. I really quickly, I actually have a company that we worked with that hired a bunch of TaskRabbiters to come and put desks from IKEA together. And I'm talking like there were probably 50 or 60 pieces of furniture. Like it took them several days.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt
to do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah, but what are you going to do? You're going to pay your $100,000 engineer,
Right.
money to put their IKEA desk together? You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's terrible. I felt so bad for those poor people that had to. I mean, IKEA
they
furniture.
signed up for it.
Yeah,
they did.
Pretty tough to put together.
But I think one of these things that people, especially for small, we have a lot of conversations about small business owners. And I think one of the things that small business owners can get stymied with is, a task that's going to take you 30 minutes to do because you've done it 100 times, if not more, they're going to spend all day on. And that all-day task of setting up their IT, or trying to figure out why their Wi-Fi is not working, or simple stuff like printers, or more important things like I'm sure we're going to talk about, like security and all that kind of stuff. The opportunity cost of spending your own time on that instead of focusing on whatever your business is, versus hiring somebody who knows what they're doing, being able to trust the product and not have to worry about it, and get back to we talked about the metaphorical bakery shop. Get back to making bread.
Right.
Exactly. Not worrying about how to set up your, Square terminal or whatever it is.
So starting in that guise then, right? So let's add some value for our listeners of, okay, so let's say you're a new business, right? You want to set up shop, maybe you have an employee or two. What do they need to consider to protect their data, protect their computer system, or any, like, even if they have an intranet system?
Yeah.
What are the things they need to think through, and why would they engage you to help them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the number one piece to this puzzle is security around your data, right? Because a lot of times when you're first starting out, you have no idea what, like, you don't know what you don't know, right? So for a lot of customers that come to us with questions like that, we try and tell them, like, there's not a one size fits all for this. It's generally speaking, you have to have a couple of different layers to the onion in order for you to make sure that you're protecting yourself. So email security is the biggest one. We see probably 95% of all of the problems that we have regarding, like, security is based around phishing attempts and targeted email campaigns to, like, CEOs or CFOs, stuff of that nature, and then making sure that you're backing up your data. So that way, because it's kind of like it's the what happens if you get run over by a bus type of thing, right? So, like, as a 2-person company, if half of you get hit by a bus, that leaves one person left with all of the stuff. So that's kind of the other big one, is just making sure that all your data is backed up. So if your laptop gets stolen, or if you spill coffee on your laptop and we can't get the data off of it, it's not going to bury your company to the point where you can't get back to where you were.
Right. And those problems are real. I mean, for businesses, for everything. So I had 2 quick stories about that. One is, we have a standard slide at our church we show on Sunday mornings that basically says, we will never send you an email asking for gift cards or things of that nature, because we had somebody email the church and ask for a copy of our church directory, posing as a church member. And of course, we have a PDF copy of our church directory, posing as a church member. And the person working in the office doodly sent it, because why would you not?
Right.
And they scraped it, all the emails out of it and all the phone numbers out of it, and started sending out these texts purported to be from me, looking for it, looking for things like that. I mean, looking for gift cards or, whatever. And, if it wasn't for the mildly broken English, I don't know that a lot more people would have been a lot less suspicious. I don't know if anybody actually fell for it, but I mean, it was, and then I posted about it on a clergy group, and like 4 other people were like, oh yeah, that happened to us too.
Yeah.
Because they're just, so yeah, that part's kind of nuts. And very recently here, unfortunately, very tragically, we lost our church treasurer very suddenly and unexpectedly. And it was a while to figure out, like, oh, wait, like he had the password to this and he had the password to that. And
yeah.
Diligent people worked hard, and it was, we got through it, but it was not a small task.
Right. It's difficult.
Yeah.
To get back.
So those problems are real.
Yeah.
So email is kind of the number one way that people kind of get
Absolutely.
in. So what do people need to do to protect themselves? What are you doing to help protect them? Avery called me like 2 seconds after I did it, I think, by the way, too. I got something, this is the first time in 4 years, but it was something that looks completely bona fide. It has like Google Chrome. It looked exactly like it.
Mm-hmm.
I clicked on it, and then boom, he calls me. He's like, dude, we need to lock you down here.
Okay.
And anyways,
yeah. What are you doing to protect him?
So what do you do?
Right. Yeah. I was gonna say
that's obviously I have an Avery. But,
Yeah.
But so let's start before we get to my piece. So how what about the email thing, and how do people protect themselves, or what are some tips too that people don't realize they should do?
So the first thing, like the very first thing, if you see an email that looks like suspicious at all, look at the from address. Like look at who is sending it to you.
Yeah.
Does the address look real? Because like a lot of times it'll be like, somebody's name, so Avery George or whatever, and then the actual email address will be like xyz123@gmail.com or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's still
it's
some email clients that hide the email address.
Right.
You have to go in and actually look.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that's the other thing. So like with Outlook, right, which is a business platform, you have to click on the email. If it pops up like with the Avery George, you have to click on the email, and then it like, which is terrible because it's really hard to like discern. You're like, especially like if you're not technical, you're like, oh, Avery just sent me this, and it's like, hey, give me $10,000. It's like, well, okay, why?
Yeah, I've actually default now. If I don't know the sender, I automatically look. I don't even.
Yeah.
It's like ingrained to me now.
Yep.
I just automatically look at it, and if it's like, I don't know what that is, just delete.
Yeah.
And if it's important enough, I guess I'll follow up if it's something that's real. But
Like 90% of the time, you can figure out if it's a bad email at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the other 10% is if it has a link in it and it's telling you to like, change your password, or your bank has been in default or something, and you like, click here to
what
like.
About the FBI is going to come arrest you?
Yeah, that's always been. That's a good.
That's a good one. That's good. There's a problem with your Social Security.
Yeah.
Oh, the one I got this morning. There's a problem with your Spotify billing. Please click here to non-interrupt your service. I'm like, well, ha. I do not subscribe to Spotify.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's the thing. They just cast really wide nets, right? So
yeah, but they don't care.
It's easy to get. Yeah, it's easy to get a big list of consumer emails, right? And when I say that, like, you can go on the dark web and look at all of the emails that have been compromised in the last however long from whoever, from whatever company, personal, business, whatever. And you can get this list, compile it, and then ship out, 5 million emails.
Yeah.
And eventually you're going to catch somebody, right?
Right.
And you're going to get the $20 subscription or, whatever it is. In our case, a lot of times these controllers will get emails that are like, hey, we switched our banking information. So I know you were going to wire us to this bank. We actually just switched it. Ironically, right now at the 11th hour, we switched it to this. And the reason that happens is because a company will get hacked, like the controller will get hacked, and nothing will happen, right? Like they won't go in and they won't start like bombarding people with emails or anything like that. They just sit back and wait and wait and wait and wait.
Look for an opportunity.
And then, as soon as like a deal goes through and the controller is talking with the other controller, like at the other company, they'll just be like, man in the middle attack you, is what it's called. And they'll pose as that controller. They'll say, hey, here's the new banking information. And then next thing you know, you're wiring, $100,000 to India or, wherever. Yeah. And banks are pretty good though now at like blocking the wire transfer. But you're still like, that's too late, right? You shouldn't have to worry about, like JP Morgan making sure that you're spending your money correctly. Like, I feel like that's a conflict.
So what do you do to protect people in the event that they get caught?
Yes.
It's an accident, right? How do you protect them?
Right. So the first thing that we do, like if we know that there has been some type of breach happen, the first thing we do is lock them out of their account, right? Lock the account down. And then we go in and we do an investigation on the account, look at where the sign-ins came from, who, try and find the who, what, where, why, and when, right? So go in and do all that. And then from there, generally we'll try and because like I said, 90% of the time it's an email. And so we'll go in and we'll look and we'll be like, hey, have you opened up any emails recently? And they're always like, no, And we're like, what about this one from not Amazon that told you to reset your password? And he's like, oh, well, that was just Amazon.
Really?
And then we have to go through that whole process. But knock on wood, we haven't ever had any of our clients get breached. This is always like people that have reached out to us to remediate that. And the reason why I think a lot of it is because we have like a 2-tier system. So we have the protection part, which is like a piece of software that monitors emails coming in, et cetera. And then we also have a phishing campaign piece that we send out to everybody. So we're like essentially the hackers.
Right.
We send out the emails and we're like, gotcha.
So that's how
so do you tell people when you get them? Because we've never heard from you in that regard.
Yeah.
So you've never gotten us.
No.
Oh, that's good news.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So, no, you guys are pretty savvy.
And the one that I got actually wasn't an email. It was like a web browser thing.
Yeah, yours was actually like extra weird because essentially what happened was you were going to a website that you believed was
that website was hacked. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was the fund.
It was an investment management company that was hacked.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
So I actually reached out to their support desk and was like, hey, you have like a crypto miner on your website. And they're like, no, we don't. And I was like, well, here's the
yeah, you do.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, I'm going to send this to them and we'll get back to you. I
Did they not get back to you?
Yeah, I never got anything. I don't know what that's about.
No, I don't know. It's like we don't want to invite.
Yeah, so that was mine. That's why it was so weird because I actually was going to a website that was for my field, and the website was hacked. That's what it was.
Yeah,
I remember.
So I
but you guys detected it.
Yeah, I call him instantly.
Well, I got caught because I clicked on it.
Yeah,
right?
sure, of course.
And then he calls. Avery calls me like it wasn't even 2 minutes. It was like
because I get an alert.
Right.
That he downloaded something that was malicious, and so I immediately call. Because that's like a high priority on our, we don't want him to go through something like that. Any of our clients, right?
Right.
So,
well, I mean, it's probably similar to when you make that big purchase and your credit card company calls you 30 seconds later saying, did you just buy $2,000 worth of speaker equipment off of Amazon? And I'm like, well, yes, I'm a pastor and I did do that.
Right.
But thank you for checking.
Yes.
But I mean, that's good to see that you can get that kind of service, and that level of, monitoring and, diligence around even more, everyday things that you do. I mean, I think that's, I don't know people would even know that's possible or available.
Yeah. I'm constantly auditing all of our software vendors to make sure that we are, if we're not at the cutting edge, we're at the bleeding edge of it.
Yeah.
Like we're right there. Because we're too small of a company to be able to just manpower our way through it.
Right.
So we have to rely heavily on software and being efficient in order for us to succeed.
Yeah.
It's a pretty tough market.
And I bet the other one right now is a lot of the texting ones. I see a lot of, I get a lot of the spam texts, or, my wife will be like, does this look like a spam? I'm like, yes, honey, that's spam. Don't click on it.
Yeah. The UPS is, they don't care enough about you to text you that you owe them money.
Right.
Like they're bigger than that.
Yeah, there's not a package waiting in customs for you that, you got to pay your $2.95 taxes on or whatever, Even with all the new tariffs, they're still not doing that, right? That's not a thing. So, But I would imagine when things like that happen, that's where like, okay, now we're going to have all the scams about the tariffs because that's what's in the news right now. And I mean, it can be very of the moment. You know, I've noticed the stuff that I've gotten is it's very.
I don't know about you around the election, but I seem to get a lot of political text, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know what's real and what's fake.
Right.
So I just ignore them all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I think they're all just fishing for money and want you to click on this link.
Right, which is really bad because if you care enough about, about a certain organization and you want to contribute, like you just don't.
Right.
Yep. Well, and
it's terrible.
Another interesting situation I ran into recently was I'm doing some business in the state of Virginia, and I had to do some licensing stuff out there. Well, I got an email from someone with a, Virginia email address, like the government, I think. But it was literally just the attachment. I'm like, who does that nowadays? Nobody does that nowadays.
Just sends the attachment with no text?
I'm like,
yeah.
You don't click on that.
No.
It looks official, but I'm like, I'm deleting it. I didn't even mess with it,
Good. Did it go to your spam or did it go straight to your inbox?
It went to my inbox.
Wow.
It did go to my inbox.
So it must have been somewhat real.
It might have been real.
Wow, that's crazy.
I'm just like, I'm not clicking on this attachment.
That's the hardest part is like you get fatigue.
Yeah.
Email fatigue, text fatigue, all the social media fatigue. Like that's all actually real, right? And you don't you in the moment.
That's how they wear you down. Yeah, it's like get you something going on in your life.
Yeah.
And
like refine a house.
You get something and then you're like click on it and you didn't even think.
Yeah, because there's 90 million other things going on and you just like accidentally make one mistake and then your credit score is gone.
And then you get fatigue and then you forget to pay your HOA stuff because they send you an email for your HOA dues for the first time ever. And I'm like, doggone it.
That sounds like a personal story, right?
It might have happened recently.
So Avery, what would you, cause like again, I'm the same, a small business owner, even just an owner operator, it's just me. What's the kind of base level security? Is there, or as far as like a trusted platform, if I just need normal like businessy stuff, I need to be able to send emails, I need to be able to create and share documents, kind of stuff any business needs to be able to do. Is there like a platform that you recommend as being, at least more secure, or anything to avoid when trying to settle that up?
Yeah, I would. So the number one thing that people get confused is like, so when you go to GoDaddy, like if you have a business name that you want to make, right? You go to GoDaddy and they're like, okay, you've got your domain that we'll just say like abc.com or whatever. People automatically assume like okay, abc.com, I have GoDaddy, so I need to buy my email from GoDaddy because that's just how that works.
Right. Well, they make it very easy to sell it to you.
Yeah.
They make it seem like that's how it's supposed to be done.
Right. And so, I mean, GoDaddy's a great product for some people. However, in my expertise, in my professional opinion, I think that you should always go directly to Microsoft or to Google to get your subscriptions. So that way you can get support from Microsoft or Google instead of getting support from a third party that has to then go through Microsoft to get.
Yeah. So you're talking like Google for Business, where where basically your abc.com email runs through Gmail.
Yep.
Same interface, same everything.
Exactly.
With all of Google security behind it, or through Microsoft 365. So it's all of Microsoft's power and might behind it.
Yeah, and
their spam filtering and blah blah blah.
Right. And I would always go Microsoft just because people are so used to having Word and Excel and all that on their desktop, right? So, and Outlook is really powerful. So, but yeah, like if I were starting a company tomorrow, I would go get my domain name from somewhere, and then I would go straight to Microsoft and buy they have a business premium license. It's kind of expensive. Right. It's like $22 a month. But within that comes all the security pieces that you need. So you don't have to go out and reach out to somebody like me to like put all these puzzle pieces together for you.
Right.
It just kind of comes like out of the box like that, which I realized that I just basically said that you don't need to come to somebody like me.
Right.
However, like if you don't want to spend the extra money in order to go to consult a professional, that's the direction that I would go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you need something simple, I mean, that makes sense. And I always like to a shout out for our nonprofits out there.
Yes.
As both Google and Office and Microsoft have programs for you can get their small business suite basically for free.
Yep.
We actually use both of them here at the church. You get it through TechSoup, TechSoup.com. One of those. TechSoup. You sign up for an account there, and because everybody processes all their stuff through there.
Yep.
For all their free stuff. So we have both Office 365 and Google Apps here, free accounts, 10 users or something.
Yeah. It's a great program.
It's
TechSoup
great.
is awesome.
Yeah, I love we're big fans. You got to get set up and credentialed through it and everything, but for nonprofits. And again, it's just like, nonprofits, we got other things to do than manage our IT. Right. So you just pick it up and it works. People, again, you're right. People know how to use it, all that kind of stuff.
Well, and it's like 80% off or something. It's like it might be 90%. Like it's very cheap. Compared to, or it's very affordable, I should say.
I think for those two, for up to 10 users, it's basically free.
Yeah.
You pay an administrative fee to get it all set up, and then it's basically free after that. But you can get your QuickBooks through there.
Mm-hmm.
We do our QuickBooks Online through it, and you get it at a pretty substantial discount because they need to do that, right? They got to be good corporate stewards, and they got to give away product and all that kind of stuff. But they don't want to manage it, so they just hand it all off to TechSoup and say, "You please manage this for us."
Yeah.
And
that's actually, I didn't know about that. That's really cool.
Oh yeah. Well, I tell people all the time. I run into churches that are paying for this stuff. I'm like, don't pay for it. Canva's free. You can get a free Canva account for nonprofits. Wow. All that kind of stuff because they've got to do it, and they're basically through their corporate responsibility stuff. They've got to show they're doing nice things for people. So
that's good.
So nonprofits, you don't have to pay for nothing.
Yeah, hardware too.
We still want your money though. Just FYI, we need your money for other things.
Sure.
Just FYI. I didn't just say don't give to nonprofits, okay?
Yeah.
So we're not saying don't hire Avery, and we're not saying don't give to nonprofits, just to be clear.
I'm a really good sales guy, clearly, as you can tell.
So, okay, just to kind of work this back then. So we talked about the email piece. You have protection for them if they have a malicious attack that's ongoing. That's a piece of software that notifies you. And then that was the kind of the first layer of the onion that you were referencing. What's the second layer of the onion that you were kind of referencing?
So, I would say the first layer is the like email piece, and then the second layer is probably that like software that helped with you, and then the third layer is backing up your data.
So if you are hacked and you can't recover, you can just delete and go to the backup.
Right, exactly.
Backups.
Yeah, we'll just wipe your computer like it never even happened, and then put all your data back on it, and you're back to work the next day.
Which, by the way, is why he was talking about the onboarding, offboarding. It was so important because even for a company like mine, I have employees, in multiple locations. So if we need to let someone go, we got to secure the data.
Right.
And Avery can remotely just shut down the desk,
Right.
the computer, and it's secured.
Yeah. So do you work around, so there's that piece of it. I think there's also things like, some compliance and reporting pieces. That was a big deal. Roy loves it when I talk about when I was on the school board. But when I was on the school board, that was
a lost puppy for him.
It is. It's a bit of a lost puppy. I miss it. But part of what we had to do is we've got record retention laws, and you've got Freedom of Information Act requests you've got to process, and that kind of stuff. And I know Google has some tools for those kind of compliance. Is that a world you play in?
Yeah.
As far as helping people figure that piece out, because especially things like information requests that public organizations have to put can be arduous unless you know where the tools are.
Right.
And Google has some nice tools for that, and I assume Microsoft does too.
Yeah.
But you still have to know how to use them and how to set them up.
Right.
And how to tell it to keep stuff. Because you can delete an email on a school board email account all you want. It's never gone.
No. So we actually work with a couple of law firms. So FOIA is pretty important for them. But yeah, we work in the compliance space pretty much. We work in like the DoD space with NIST. So National Information Security type of stuff. And then CIS, which is the Center for Internet Security. That's a generalized one. It's a little more broad. So if you want to do, if you're very like security conscious company, you would start out like doing the CIS stuff, and then you would go from that point. If you plan on working with the government, then you want to step into the arena of like the NIST piece. But the CIS level 1 and NIST kind of overlap a little bit. So there are, but yes, The short answer is yes.
So compliance is another piece of
Yeah.
it that people might not be thinking about depending on who you work with. So
Yeah.
if you are yourself an organization or an entity, or you want to work with those organizations and entities, I imagine HIPAA is another one.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Well, and even
You
for
know.
me, the SEC requirements of every digital communication has to be archived,
Yeah.
basically forever.
So we back up his stuff like
Yeah.
10 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's forever.
So
Yeah.
that's a part for me. And then now we just added texting, but I have a different tool that will do that,
Right.
and archive it. But it's a real thing for a lot of companies nowadays.
Right. And what you want is you want it to happen the way it's supposed to happen. You want to be compliant, and you want to not have to think about it.
Right.
You want it just to kind of happen in the background. And there are tools to get that
Or if
done.
something happens, you get an Avery to call you and be like, "This
Right.
is what you do."
Yeah.
Done. Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's like for me. That was like, can you imagine if I had to deal with that?
Oh,
I mean, I'd have to stop everything I was doing in the day to figure out how
Yeah.
to protect myself,
Yeah.
from this attack. So
are there things that you run into that people should be thinking about but don't? I think people know about phishing. People know about email. Generally speaking, people go nod along and go, yeah, I need to worry about that. If you're in the healthcare space, you know HIPAA exists. You're like, yeah, okay, I probably know about that. Are there things out there that you find consistently people should care about, but most people, for whatever reason, aren't aware that that's a possible problem, or just a lack like that?
Yeah. So like a lot of people take for granted, like updating software, right? So for instance, we offer patch management. So every Friday, Roy gets a little pop-up on his computer that says you need to restart your computer.
and every Friday I'm like, can we move it to not
Yep.
this time?
Crazy. Yeah, he's not the only one. But that being said, there are applications out there like Zoom or Chrome, for instance, like all these applications that are considered third-party applications, right? Those actually have vulnerabilities associated with them that can get you into a pickle if you don't update them on a regular basis. Everybody in the professional world, the number one thing that they hate with computers is updating their software, right? So like, because it takes time out of their day. So for instance, he's like, I don't want to restart my computer right now. I'm in the middle of 7 different things that are generating me money. If I shut my computer off, I'm no longer generating money. I am now losing money, right? And so we offer a tool called vulnerability management, or a service called vulnerability management. And not a lot of people care about it. Nobody, like everybody that I know in this space, overlooks it because it's not that important. If Zoom is still working, why do I need to update it? That doesn't matter to me. On my end, I'm seeing all of these emails come in from my cybersecurity groups that I'm in saying, we had XYZ people get breached because they didn't have their Zoom updated. This is really big priority for us. And I'm just sitting over here in the corner, like sweating, like, hey, Roy, update your Zoom. Because we're on the hook for that, right? We carry insurance, like, cybersecurity insurance for the pieces of software that we work with on our clients' computers, right? So yeah, that's the biggest thing I can see where people are just like, this doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. I don't need to update Chrome because I have 500 tabs open and I'm afraid that I'll lose them.
I feel that way, actually. I don't know how long it's set up in the corner.
Yeah.
There's a new version of Chrome
Why have you been
available?
looking at my Google Chrome?
Yeah, I know.
100 tabs.
So I think that's a big one. The update management. We don't think about it. My wife restarted. She was having problems with the computer. Like, well, when's the last time you restarted your computer? She's like, oh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, honey, step 1.
Yeah.
We're gonna restart.
And
it.
also, don't turn your computer off at night. That's a myth. Don't do that.
Really?
Yeah, because we send updates.
Oh, okay.
And so does Microsoft, like in general. So, to all of you out there that are listening, don't shut your computer off at night, every night. You can restart it and stuff, but like if it's like part of your routine to not log off of your computer, but to like shut it down before you leave the office, don't do that, please.
Yeah.
Log off, but just leave it.
Yeah. You can log off and like lock the computer. That's fine. But as soon as you turn it off, we no longer have like access to be able to make changes and keep you up to date.
We're just keeping the good guys out at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the same. It's the same thing as the texting and like all that. Like you want to donate to your favorite political campaign or whatever, and you you can't because you're afraid to.
We have a computer back in our main meeting space there, and during the summer it gets almost no use. So the first time I need it in the fall, I'm like, okay, time to turn the computer on, let it sit for half a day, and then let it restart 17 times.
Yeah.
Because yeah. Well, that's great. So, and if I'm a small business owner, I'm concerned about this or person or whatever, and I'm like, this all sounds really important. I don't want to think about it. How do we call Avery? What's the number or the website?
Sure. So I'll start with our number because the name is a little tricky. 303-284-3566 can get a hold of us. And the company name is Netirio. I came up with that at 3 a.m. one night. I woke up and I just started writing down a bunch of names, and that was the one I chose, which is, it makes me feel a little bit better because it's so ridiculously hard to say. I was just not in my right state of mind. I was tired and decided to go that route.
We did razz him before about that, by the way, everybody.
But was Netirio.com available?
Yes.
Well, there you go. That's Google. GoDaddy is the ultimate arbiter of what your company is going to be named. Because it's like, what website can you get?
Right. So it's Netirio.com. Nice. Netirio.
Nice.
So you talked a lot about the business side. Now, personally, right? So I have a lot of clients. They don't have businesses. They're just people who are just wanting to not get hacked.
Yeah.
What are some of you said a couple things, right? The email one, obviously, I think a lot of people are coming wise to that. Check who it's from.
Mm-hmm.
What else should people be doing? Just basics.
Yeah.
It's not high cost, but they can protect themselves.
Call the company that asks you for money. So if, for instance, if it's your friend across the street that's emailing you and they're like, hey, I need $10,000, wire it here. Just call them and be like, hey, did you send this to me? Or if it's a company that has a phone number that you can get a hold of, just call them and say, hey, look, I got this email from you all.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure that you
want me to look it up independently? So
not the phone number.
Not the one in the email.
Yes, not the one in the email. Yeah, look it up independently. Go on, use Google or something like that. But reach out to the person that is asking you for money.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times they'll be like, no, we... Right. Obviously we didn't send you that. And the other thing too is if the IRS actually did email you and is asking you to pay your bill because you haven't, then you should probably call them and make sure that you're all square, right?
Right. But every communication from I get from the Social Security Administration says the Social Security Administration will not, email you, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Because obviously that is so widespread.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's when we've had problems at the church. That's how we found out we've had problems. Is people call the church and be like, does Pastor Jeremy really need confidential gift cards for blah, blah, blah? And they're like, no, he doesn't.
So what about antivirus for people, for the individual?
Yeah.
Does the individual need to get antivirus?
Yeah.
What about a Mac versus a PC? Is there any difference?
If you have a Mac, you're way less likely to be hacked. So I would say that if you have a Mac, the standard tools that it comes with are fine. The way that it was built, the architecture is very safe and secure. So with a Windows machine, I would say anything that you can get at Best Buy would be fine. Mm-hmm. Or something like
antivirus type
stuff. Antivirus stuff. Yeah. And just get if you really want to go the extra mile, get a little hard drive to plug into your computer that backs up your stuff.
Yeah.
And then, worst case scenario with your computer, you just have all of the data backed up.
Right.
My grandma has 1 million pictures on a little backup.
Well, I run I run a Mac, so I run the time machine.
Yes.
Backups all the time. Every time I plug it in, it's like, okay, you're backed up now.
Well, that's a really good question too. So, for a lot of clients, a lot of my clients, they have the cloud.
Yes.
Right. And you just said to back up to a device. Is the cloud secure? Is it something people can use for some things, but not all things?
Yes.
Any guidance there for people?
Yeah. So I was going based on cheapness.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you, in a perfect world, put everything that you have that you care about on the cloud, because going to be protected. It's going to be safe. You're not going to lose the data. No random person has access to it.
But
I know
does the NSA have access?
Yeah,
Avery?
I know a lot of people are worried about that, and that's like a legitimate thing. I've had several people like ask me, if I do this, like, can anybody just get into it? And I'm like, well, no, there are laws, right?
Right.
You have to get a warrant and like go through that whole process, just like anything else.
Right.
But if you're not doing it, if you're not a criminal, back up your stuff.
Probably
on the
okay.
cloud.
Well, and the thing is, if you have
my baby pictures, I think.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Yeah, and if you have a hard drive, they get a warrant for your hard drive, then get a warrant for the cloud. It's the same thing.
Yeah. They'll just have to come to your house, which is way more invasive.
Right. And by the cloud, you mean like Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, Dropbox, like one of the major
Apple
vendors.
Cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
iCloud.
iCloud is really big with people.
Yeah.
And Google, Microsoft, all of them do a really good job of protecting your data. Even though OneDrive says in their like terms and conditions, like we don't back up any, or we don't claim to be able to like have backup or any of that of your stuff. They still do. Like I've never seen OneDrive misplace a file in 6 years.
Yeah.
And 300 clients.
It's kind of what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
like a
again, we
big
let
deal.
them do what they do so we can do what we do.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so there's a couple of tips for our listeners then. So if you have a PC, get some antivirus, check your emails and who it's being sent from, confirm if somebody's wanting something from you. Here's a big one for you. I just heard about this from a client recently is AI.
Yes.
They saw somebody was talking about just security stuff, and they have AI now that can basically look at let's say your grandchildren, because everyone's on social media, right? That's young. They can go get and create the same voice and then have it call them.
Yeah.
And fool, trick the grandparent into thinking it's really them.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't think to confirm, right? Like,
Yeah.
actually maybe hang up and then call them.
Yeah.
Make sure that it's them. But
That's exactly right. So this actually happened to my grandmother. Not with AI voice, but somebody called her faking to be like me. And she like got them all the way to the point where they were getting on her Mac. And then she was like, wait, Avery told me to call him if this ever happens. So she hung up the phone and called me, and I was able to get on the computer and get them off of her computer before she like entered her bank account information or anything like that. So lucky.
Right.
But yes, bottom line with that is call the person that is
just confirm.
Yeah.
No matter what it is,
Right.
confirm.
Yeah.
Right.
Confirm with a secure source.
Trust but verify, right? Like that's the whole thing is like, okay, this might be the person, but let's just verify it, because if she would have gone through with that and they would have gotten her bank account information, I mean, that would be devastating.
Right.
Well, and then if ever there's like pressure,
Right.
Because the goal that they have is to add pressure, add urgency.
Right,
Yeah. Urgency.
Right. And when you start feeling urgency, you really got to keep yourself in check and just say, stop, let me confirm
Right.
Right.
that this is actually real.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think it was you were telling me about this, about the roofing companies. Or was it you or somebody else telling the story about somebody got a phone call from purporting to be from their roofing company, and saying, oh, hey, if you pay your bill right now, we'll give you a discount, wire the money here. And the person did. And what ended up happening, and of course it wasn't actually the roofing company.
I think I did tell you that, yeah.
Yeah, what had happened is that
It's
they had
terrible.
a sign in front of their house that said, this roof is being replaced by XYZ Roofing Company. And so they knew the address, and they could look it up, and they could look up who lives there, and they could just, with just a little bit of work, and away you go. And the right time of year through Colorado, you get the right hailstorm through. There's 3,700 houses with roofing company names out front, and so don't let the roofing company put a sign in front of your house, I think, is the lesson there. I mean, and that's probably true. I mean, that's probably like, well, no, actually, no, thank you.
Same thing with your security company too.
Right.
Don't put the ADT sticker in your window.
Oh, because people will call purporting to be from ADT.
Yes.
Yeah.
They'll call you and they'll be like, hey, we actually have to redo your subscription or renew it or upgrade your subscription.
Right.
It's totally free, but you just have to put your credit card information in.
Right.
And, you're trying to protect yourself. Like a lot of people, like those signs are supposed to like deter criminals, right? From like burglarizing your.
Right. Well, and I've heard the same thing about cars. We just bought 2 new cars, so I'm waiting for hey, this is so-and-so from Nissan. We just need you to blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no,
Just
thank you.
told everybody you have a Nissan.
I do.
Yeah.
Darn
You
it.
literally can't advertise
By the
anything
time
about
this
your life.
releases, it won't be new anymore.
There you
I don't know
go.
if that helps me
They'll
or
still know
not.
you
I
have
don't
it.
know. Yeah.
Here's another question for you that I've run across a lot with clients is passwords.
Yes.
What do you recommend around the passwords? Do you recommend, like, if you have a phone that has a password app, you use it? Do you get a third-party password app? Do you write it down on paper? Do you use one for everything? What do you think?
Definitely not the last one.
Not one for everyone. Okay.
Yeah.
I got to change the passwords.
And it shouldn't be password, Roy.
Right. So a couple easy tricks and tips for this. Make it a passphrase. So, for instance, instead of trying to come up with some ridiculous password that is hard to remember, make it a passphrase. So, like, for instance, like table hyphen microphone hyphen pen, something like that. That's extremely difficult to like hack because you're putting 3 words together that aren't a sentence. It's a phrase. So it's long. It's like, 30 characters or something. It's got special characters with the hyphens. And then, if you want to go the extra mile, you can be like, you can put numbers afterward or something like that.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, because I think there used to be a limitation, right? It used to be like, back when computers had limitations on their like memory size and everything, your password could only be
long.
8 characters. And we're all used to ingrained to that. I'm like, no, your password could be probably not all of Moby Dick, but I mean, it can be, probably, it can definitely be a phrase.
Yeah. Our standard password length across our entire client base is 30 characters per password that we use. And we have a whole, we use a third-party program, which is the next part I was going to say. So if you can afford it, it's a couple bucks a month. Get a password manager, Keeper Security, shout out. That's what we use. They're great. And that will save you so much time because it automatically puts the username and password in, and it can remember 2-factor authentication codes.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of is the all-in-one holy grail of password management. And I never have to remember a password.
Right.
So I don't even know. All of the passwords that we have for every one of our clients, I have no idea what it is.
Don't you have to remember the password to get into the tool, though?
You do.
Yeah.
Don't forget that one. Yeah.
that's
the one password you really have to remember.
That's the ones that's the entirety of Moby Dick that you got to copy and paste.
And you should get that tattooed because if you lose that, you're
really kind of in trouble.
Well, because they don't have it's encrypted vault, right? So they don't have
the ability to
a
look
way
at
to
it.
get into it, right?
It's like losing the.
So if you get dementia or something, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, that's why if you just put it right on your forearm,
there you go.
Nice bold.
Get it updated every time you got to update it.
Great
Yeah,
tips.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like losing the password to your crypto wallet, right?
Yeah.
It's really similar.
With those 10 Bitcoin in there, you're like, oh man. So, all right. Well, this has been good.
Yeah, there's lots of little nuggets in there.
Yeah.
Anything else that you need to put on us? Is there anything that's like really people need to do this or stop doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I think we covered everything.
Nice.
We did a good job.
Yeah. Well, it can seem daunting. I think the big thing is for people, it can seem daunting. There's so much out there, so many bad actors out there now, and they can be coming from anywhere, from Russia or China or just next door, so it can feel a little daunting, but there also are really great tools, fairly accessible at your fingertips. Use trusted platforms, use good passwords, do good practice, turning on 2-factor authentication, always a good thing to do.
Yeah, necessary.
So don't get annoyed when it wants to text you a message.
I still get annoyed.
There you
Me
go.
too.
I do. It's just
me
annoying.
too. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But
It's the worst
you just
thing
know
ever.
it's secure though, so
Right.
you're like, man, I'm just gonna do it.
I'll tell you, as an Apple user, I really appreciate it because it shows up on messages on my Mac.
I know.
So I can
Makes
copy
it
it. I don't
so
have to
easy.
type it in from
You
my
just
phone.
click it, it's done.
Yeah, it's pretty good. They did a good job with that one. So I do appreciate that. But I mean, I think those kind of things too. And if worse comes to worse, how much is your security? How much is your business? How much is the trust of your clients worth to you if you're a small business?
Right.
It's probably worth a phone call and a little bit of consulting time. On a one-time, just getting everything set up or an ongoing basis with somebody like Netirio to just make sure everything's okay and take that off your plate.
Yeah, absolutely. Call us. Let us know. We're happy to help however we can.
So you're taking new clients.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
Cool. All right. Well, this was great. Avery, I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Avery. Really fun.
All right. Thank you, Roy.
Yes, sir.
All right. As always, please subscribe if this was interesting to you. It might be interesting to somebody else. So share it with your friends on all the social medias, wherever it is you're doing it. And we really appreciate you joining us.
CWA is a Securities and Exchange Registered Investment Advisor. No content contained herein should be construed as an offer for investment advice or an offer for the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. Investments involve the risk of low loss, including loss of principal. Please consult with a qualified financial, tax, or legal professional before implementing any strategy presented here. Data presented here are obtained from believed reliable sources but cannot be guaranteed as to completeness or accuracy.